Welcome to Mathenatic. This is our first video on our playlist for statistics for grade 12 mathematics. And in this video, we'll focus on ungrouped data. In our example, we want to study the following data set and we are given this data points. So this can represent ages or marks or weight or length or distance or anything like that. That's not relevant. But what we do know is that we have a few data points to consider. So in ungrouped data, it means that the data is not grouped together. So every data point is standing by itself. The first type of value that we can get from this data is the mode. Now the mode is the value that occurs the most in a data set. So if you inspect this data set, you can see that the value of 18 occurs 3 times, 22 occurs twice, but the mode is the data point that repeats the most, so that is 18. Next, we can find the mean of the data. Now, mean is another word for average, and to find the average, we add all of these data values together. So we take the sum of the values and we divide it by the number of values. So in this data set, we have a total of 13 data points. What I want you to notice is that for mean, we use the notation of x with a little line on top of it. So that means mean. The 278 is the sum of all these data points, and there are a total of 13 data points in this data set. So the mean is 21.38. Next, we can find the range. The range is the maximum value minus the minimum value. So that is the difference between the highest and the lowest value. So the maximum value is 29 and the minimum value is 16. So therefore the range is 29 minus 16 and that is equals to 13. Next, we can find the median of the data. And before we get into the median, we need to arrange the data in ascending order. So always make sure that you have your lowest value on the left-hand side and you arrange the data in order and have your highest value on the right-hand side. And that is ascending order. Once your data is in ascending order, you can find the median. So the notation for median is Q2, which means quartile 2. And for this data set, the median is 21. So if I have 13 data points here, then the value exactly in the middle is 21. So can you see that to the left of this 21, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 values. And to the right of 21, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 values. So this 21 is the exact middle of the data when it's arranged in ascending order. So that represents Q2 or the median. Next up, we can find the lower quartile or quartile 1. So this is the median of the lower half of the values. So to find quartile 1, we will focus on the first few values excluding that median value. And we are trying to find the middle value in between these 6 values. And can you see that if I take the median of this lower half, it'll be a number between 18 and 18. Because this value here in the middle will have 3 values on the left and 3 values on the right. Now we can see that it'll also be 18. But how you find it is you take the 2 central values and you're going to find the midpoint between the 2 of them. So you would say 18 plus 18 divided by 2. And this represents quartile 1. And that is why we have this calculation. Now, it's not always necessary, but sometimes these values are different. So let's say, for example, we had 19. Then it will be 18 plus 19 divided by 2, which is 18 and a half. And what I want you to notice is that quartile 1, the 18 that's in between these two values, are not part of the data set. It's an estimated value. But that value would divide the lower half of the data into quarters. Next, we can find the upper quartile. Now, the upper quartile's notation is quartile 3. And this is the median of the upper half of the values. So if we look at our data set again, our actual median is quartile 2 or 21. But the upper quartile or quartile 3 is the median of the upper half. So it is the middle of these 6 values. And as we had it with quartile 1, the upper quartile would be between 23 and 24. So that is 23 and a half. So can you see that 23 and a half will have 3 values on the left of it and 3 values on the right of it. So that's the exact middle of the upper half of our data set. Next up, we can find the IQR. IQR stands for the interquartile range, and that's the difference between quartile 3 and quartile 1. Now the word range here, don't confuse that with the range where we had the maximum minus the minimum. But for the interquartile range, can you see they're speaking about quartiles and inter? So in our data set, the interquartiles is quartile 3 and quartile 1. And the range is the difference between quartile 3 and quartile 1. So that is Q3 minus Q1, which we have from our previous questions. And that value is 5.5. Next up, we can find the 5-number summary. Now the 5-number summary, as it says, has 5 numbers. That's the minimum and the maximum. Quartile 1 or the lower quartile and the upper quartile, which is quartile 3, and the median. Now, when you represent this data, you can represent it as curly brackets. You don't have to make a list that says minimum, quartile 1, quartile 2, quartile 3, maximum, and then equals like that. Even though that's also a 5-number summary, but you can represent your data in curly brackets, and you don't have to write anything next to it. You just write down the values of 16, 18, 21, 23 and a half, and 29. And you do it in ascending order. And then a person would know that the first value is the minimum, the last value is the maximum. 18 is quartile 1, 23 and a half is quartile 3, and the median is 21. And then lastly, we can draw a box and whisker diagram from our 5-number summary. Now for a box and whisker diagram, you need to show the minimum, the maximum, quartile 1, 2, and 3. And the first thing I want you to notice is that a box and whisker diagram has a number line that is divided into equal segments to represent the data. The lowest value on our number line is the minimum value, and the highest value is our maximum value. And can you see I draw the minimum and maximum over those values exactly? Then quartile 1 was 18, quartile 3 was 23 and a half. And between quartile 1 and 3, we have the box. So that creates the box, and we connect the box to the minimum and the maximum, and those are called the whiskers. And also, part of our box, we have the median, and the median is in its proper position. It does not have to be exactly in the middle of the box. Remember, it represents the middle point of the data set. So make sure that your median is over the relevant value. Thank you for watching. Remember to show your support by hitting the like button and subscribing to Mathenatic.